Alex, can you adjust the agenda a bit so that we can see the early part of the meeting? Thank you. Are we all here?
Looks like it.
Everyone's here? Okay. Good evening. Welcome to the Churchill Borough Council meeting. Our council president will be able to join us shortly, we hope, but we didn't want to keep you waiting, so we're going to get going. So I'll call the meeting to order. Alex, would you like to do the roll call, please?
Yes, of course. Madam Vice President?
Here.
Member Kevin Collins?
Here.
Councilmember Don DeFranco?
Here.
Councilmember Norma Greco?
Here.
Councilmember Adam McDowell?
Here.
Councilmember Valerie Renthaler?
Here.
Paul Gamrat, Mayor?
Here.
And Jay's not with us, but he hopefully will be joining us shortly.
Okay, let's begin then with the Pledge of Allegiance. Mr. Mayor, do you have our flag there, please?
I certainly do.
All right. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Okay. Now, we start our meetings with the comments from our members of the public. We're always thrilled to see you. And Alex, I'm going to ask you to handle this part of it so we can see who's raising their hands, and we'll call them in order.
Madam Vice President, we have a special guest this evening. Jamie Glasser, School Board President for the Woodland Hills School District, has joined us. And her and I have spoken with the President of Council, and we agreed that she could come on first, respecting her time. And Jamie, I think all you need to do is unmute yourself. I did see that you were in the meeting here earlier. I'm going to end my share so everybody can see your smiling face.
Welcome, Madam President. We're thrilled to have you.
Well, thank you, Madam Vice President. It's a pleasure to be with you this evening. I do have some brief remarks on behalf of my board that I'd like to share.
Of course.
So good evening, members of council, Mr. Mayor, members of the Churchill community. My name is Jamie Glasser, and I currently have the privilege of serving as the president of the Woodland Hills Board of School Directors. I appreciate the indulgence of council in allowing me to speak this evening on behalf of the district regarding the proposed zoning amendment that's before you for consideration at the special meeting next week. I should note as well that my colleague Marilyn Scott is also on the call. I believe she's, I don't believe there are any other board members, but Marilyn is here as well. By way of background, the Hillwood Group came before the school board this past spring to make a presentation regarding the proposed development at the Westinghouse site. While we are interested in the proposal that Hillwood shared with us several months ago, we have not taken formal action to endorse the plan, nor have we had additional conversation with Hillwood or its representatives. We would welcome the opportunity to engage further, of course, because the potential significance of the development as proposed is significant. As presented to us, the proposal offers a great many possible benefits, not the least of which is the potential tax revenue that could be realized by the district were the development to proceed as proposed. Hillwood's projection that the district could see some $8 million in additional tax revenue is significant to us. To give some perspective, the district's projected budget expenditures this year are $102.5 million, with revenues expected at $98.2 million from local, state, and other sources. As Churchill taxpayers well know, the bulk of our revenue comes from local property taxes. An increase in property tax revenue of $8 million, or 8% of the district's annual revenue, would clearly have a major impact that would benefit not only our students, but also local taxpayers. In addition, a development of this kind, one that is likely to include a major corporation as a significant employer in close proximity to our high school, could be an educational benefit as well. It is my hope and that of the district that our board and administration can be engaged in conversations about the ways in which we can partner with the end user of the development for educational opportunities, employment training, and mentorships. In addition, there could be opportunities for students to visit the site and see the operation in action. We believe the potential for partnerships and other positive community investments and benefits could be substantial. We recognize that there are concerns about the development that must be addressed. Transit of employees from local communities to and from the site, traffic flow in and around it, noise, air, and water pollution concerns are issues that must not be diminished and must be satisfactorily addressed. To our minds, however, they are not sufficient to foreclose conversation about the development at this stage. To my understanding, granting the conditional use as requested is not the end of the conversation on this issue, but rather a step that will allow discussion about how the development can continue as the developer works to meet the requirements of the amended zoning code. To my recollection, this is the most significant development that has been proposed in the eastern portion of Allegheny County in decades. Investment of this kind in our community is not common and will have significant impact, to be sure. I have confidence that this council can both recognize and elevate the positive that could come from this project while reducing the negative impacts that would result. It is my hope that you will see fit to adopt the conditional use to allow for continued progress on the potential redevelopment of this site, and I urge you to give it every consideration. Thank you for your time this evening. I am at your service if any member of council should wish to discuss this matter further. Thank you very much.
Oops, go ahead.
No, thank you. I appreciate the opportunity to speak and be here this evening. So thank you.
Very good. Thank you.
Yeah, I'm sure I can speak for everyone on the council, you know, that we're very, very glad that you felt free to come and express your point of view with us. Believe me, it will be taken into very careful consideration, and you know, you're welcome anytime. I'm sure we'll have conversations about the issues you've raised in the next few weeks. Thank you very much.
Much appreciated. Thank you.
Sure. Alex, would you like to invite the next guest in, please?
Yes, before I do that, just want to remind citizens, I'll be keeping a timer for 3 minutes. I'd like you to please fully state your complete name and street address so we can keep that for the meeting minutes record. The first person that I'm going to ask to unmute is Eric Grotzinger. So if you can go ahead and unmute yourself, Eric.
Yes,
You have the floor.
I'm Eric Grotzinger at 2373 Hollywood Drive. I've been a resident of Churchill since 1989. I love Churchill and want to see our community thrive. From the several Hillwood presentations that I have heard, they plan to build a 21st century distribution facility that not only meets or exceeds environmental, traffic, noise, and photometric standards, but also Hillwood wants to do well by our community. They are a well-established company that has a proven track record, and I urge council to approve the rezoning of the Westinghouse property to allow them to further develop their proposal. If the zoning ordinance is not approved, shame on you. And in addition, council has the obligation to let all of us know what Plan B is for the Westinghouse site that will meet or exceed the benefits of the Hillwood proposal on a comparative basis. If there is not a Plan B, then council must vote to approve the rezoning that will allow Hillwood to continue to work with us on this project that will make the investments needed to save and reclaim this abandoned property that will increase employment, increase our borough and school tax base, and allow our community to grow and thrive. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Grotzinger. Glad you could join us this evening.
Thank you, Diane.
Sure. Alex?
I believe Miss Weaver, Danielle Weaver is next. Would you please go ahead and unmute yourself and speak?
Hi, Danielle Weaver. I'm here with my husband, Toby, 880 Grand Boulevard. This morning, I dropped my resume off to Alex. I'm interested in the position of tax collector. I've worked 25 years as a bookkeeper doing personal, business, and rental property ledgers and taxes. I have 25 years with the Postal Service, the last 9 as a postmaster, and I have worked with a top name tax preparer service as a preparer. I feel that this position should be filled by a resident of Churchill rather than a third party. It would give the residents better access to the tax collector. And I'm hoping seriously that I'd be considered for the position until to fill in the position until the election in 2022.
Okay, thank you for the message, and we'll move on.
Ken
Alex?
Balke, please. Ken, go ahead and unmute yourself.
Unmute. Hey, Ken Balke, 43-year resident of 2007 Hampstead Drive with my wife, Ruth Ann. I chair the tree committee for the borough as well, too. I come from a factual base, and I have some new facts to bring that I've not disclosed in the prior meetings. I spent time today going through all the other properties that Hillwood has developed. All the other distribution properties they developed are all next to a highway with direct access, no use of any residential streets. There's no homes nearby the other properties. All the other properties are on flat ground. None of them are on steep hillsides like the one at the Westinghouse Center. And for the life of me, I cannot figure out why are they proposing a site of 3.5 million square feet, which will be by far the largest distribution center they've ever built. Keep in mind, it's a 800,000 square foot footprint, but the building's 4.5 stories high. So you get 3.5 million. Their average distribution center is 1 million. So why are they building a distribution center 3 times larger than other places that have done? So that means it's not a direct comparison. Our comparison here, there's other properties, it's apples and oranges. So the data they show on property values does not apply in my opinion. In fact, I went back in, the building of this site, along with the new driveway has to go up to the Westinghouse, plus the roundabout circle, will reduce our tree canopy by about 4 or 5%. With that, the properties, Churchill, our median home is 180,000. The boroughs that have tree canopies 5% less than us, their property values are 130 or 140 to 150, $30,000 to $40,000 less. That's the potential we run here. If this comes in, I hear all the good things. I want the tax benefit just like anybody else, but I don't want to see my home decline by tens of thousands of dollars with this development. The other thing I've done is the average time to unload and reload a truck is about 4 hours. With the 70 bays, they can turn out around 6 times a day, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. That's 400 trucks a day, 17 an hour. But the trucks don't come and go on a nice even basis. Over the weekend, this is my last fact. Last weekend, I stopped by the Beulah Presbyterian gravesite that I mentioned last week. There are 4 graves right next to the bus stop that Hillwood has said that has to be moved. That means these 4 graves will have to get moved. And keep in mind, when I looked there, the one grave was, the person that died was in 1903. The latest one was 1978. But the minister had told me when I visited them when they were doing their tree planting a couple weeks ago, that they're concerned that there are many other unknown graves in that quadrant where they want to put this roundabout. Beulah Church started in 1784. So there's a high likelihood of other graves being near the grave sites that I saw on Saturday. And this will present a huge problem for Hillwood trying to address it. Because what I'm very concerned about is from a legal standpoint, if the borough lets Hillwood go forward and you get into where the family members of these folks who have loved ones in these graves, they can bring lawsuit that you knowingly are trying to disrupt their gravesite property. And I really advise council to work with our general counsel of the possibilities you can get in with this gravesite issue with this roundabout. Because if that gravesite prevents the roundabout, then it presents a huge problem for having this distribution center itself.
Ken, the 3 minutes are up.
The only observation I have is that all the residents asking for this are not from Beulah Road, Lewin Lane, on the streets that are right next to the property. And so a no vote keeps options open. If you vote yes, it's irreversible, and you're going to force people like me to make very hard decisions if I want to stay and take a chance that this is going to work out.
Thank you, Ken. And thank you for all of your work on the tree committee. We're very grateful for that.
You're welcome.
Alex,
John McGinnis, would you please unmute yourself and speak? John McGinnis.
Yeah, I know. Hi, council. Good evening. This is Nicole McGinnis and John McGinnis. 34 Churchill Road. I understand that we have much greater pressing issues going on tonight, and I will keep this very short, but I'm back with the chickens. Yeah, we did form a committee over the past month, and we did write up a draft ordinance, and I also did create a potential application. I'm trying to make this, as I said, as seamless as possible for all of you. I'm not sure if you've had a chance to look over that as of yet. Like I said, I understand there are more pressing issues right now, but I just wanted to show up and show you that I'm still on it.
I would just say I should have said at the beginning of our meeting, our procedure to have public comment in our general meeting does not involve us responding directly to questions or comments.
Sure.
And we'll be happy to, at the end of the meeting, we go around the table with council members talking, responding, whatever. So if that doesn't happen with respect to the chickens, please be assured that
I'll show up next
you
month.
received your documents and they're being considered. Thank you.
Thank you.
Alex?
Matt Castiglia, would you please unmute yourself?
Yes, Matt Castilla, 3810 Burnaby Drive. Excuse me. First, before I get into my comment about the Hillwood property, one thing I'd like to bring up is I actually lost the invite to this meeting that I had saved or bookmarked, and it took me a good 2 or 3 minutes to try to find it on the webpage. I'd like to see it more prominently kind of displayed that, meetings have moved to Zoom. Here's the Zoom, kind of meeting number general or a link or something kind of at the top. Because I consider myself to be fairly technology advanced, and it took me a minute. So I can't imagine if other people are looking for it or aren't familiar with Zoom, I think they may have trouble finding it. And I was brought up at the previous meeting last week about making sure people can get to these meetings. I did want to take a minute and just say that, up here on Burnaby Drive, I've talked to a few of our neighbors, and certainly myself, we support the Amazon development. I think it would be a huge missed opportunity if we don't move forward with this development. The site's been sitting empty since 2012 with a few failed redevelopment tries. Typically, redevelopment opportunities like this require giving tax breaks. Amazon is not asking for that, and they're not asking for any help in developing the property, which is great for the local taxes and income. A good example of this would be right down the road in McKeesport. RIDC Park was great. Dish Network brought in thousands of jobs and had over 1,000 people employed at one point. After the tax breaks were done, they picked up and moved out, and it kind of left this hole. The fact that Amazon's not asking for that means they want to be here. They want this site. It's convenient. It's close to the highways. It's a good place for them. And I think that speaks a lot. And then additionally, Amazon isn't asking for that tax benefit. They want to be here long-term. And they're a innovative company that's a leader and going to continue to grow. We don't need to worry about this being some distribution center or some other, failed development project 10 years down the road with a company that's going to go bankrupt and close. That's just not who they are. So we support it, and we hope the council will take that under advisement.
Thank you, Matthew. Alex, next.
Alicia Saunders, would you please, if I pronounce your name wrong, I apologize for everyone in advance. Would you please lower your hand and go ahead and unmute yourself and speak?
Hi, thank you. I am a new resident to Churchill. I'm at 59 Bowstone, and I did learn about the Amazon development, and I wanted to echo what the majority of the residents have said about allowing Amazon to move into the Westinghouse facility. I am a longtime Woodland Hills resident. I lived in Wilkins before this and my entire life, but I do know Churchill well. It is a great community, but I do think that this is a huge benefit for Churchill. And I think that also, not just the tax revenue, but if there are things that we need to facilitate Amazon being in there, as in more police officers or a fire truck to, provide for, servicing the area around Amazon, I think that not only the tax benefit, but the things that we can get through this jointure would be a huge benefit all around for the district and for the borough. Thank you.
Thank you, Alicia. Alex, next.
Yes, we have Jenna Lee Morse. Go ahead and unmute yourself.
Hi, my name is Tad Morris, and I live at 61 Holland Road. Me and my wife are new residents here. And I wanted to speak about the Amazon site because I have some knowledge of what it will actually be like, because before I moved here, I worked at a FedEx hub in central PA for about 20 years. And there are several things that you should know about what the impact will be around the area. I've narrowed it down to just 3 things that I want to speak of quickly. The first one is regarding the lights. If you've ever driven through the tunnel, and who hasn't, that sort of yellow-pink light that they have running through the tunnel, that is what they will have over the entire site, 365 days of the year, and it will be visible for everyone. You'll no longer be able to look up and see a nice black sky and stars. You just have the sort of pink glow coming from the facility. Another point that I wanted to mention is about the traffic. And with the several hundred employees that you have going in and out there 4 times a day, and all of the trucks that you're going to have going in there and out there every day, the traffic is going to be quite a problem. And it's not going to be an even sort of flow. While the trucks may be coming in all throughout the day, they often leave at particular cut times, and that will create a real traffic jam when they all leave at 8 o'clock in the morning or 9 o'clock at night. The third consideration is going to be the noise. As I said, having worked in the facility, a FedEx hub with about 120 doors, it is going to be noisy 24 hours a day, 365 days of the year, from the beeping of trucks backing up, the clanging of the hooking and unhooking of the fifth wheels, and when the trailers drop. And you are going to be able to hear it miles away, in fact. Everyone within a mile will be able to hear it. Whether you're at the new golf course or the old abandoned one, you're going to hear the background noise from the site all the time. And that's the sort of thing that I think people should be aware of before deciding this, because it will affect the quality of enjoyment of living around here and potentially the value of the properties. Thank you.
Thank you. We appreciate your comments. Alex, you want to move on?
Yeah, right now I see one hand that's up. Just to remind participants, on the bar somewhere in your view, you'll see an ability to raise your hand and you want to do that. That's kind of the way to do it. Doing like this helps, but I can't see everybody at the same time all the time. Next up is Natalie Boydson.
Hi, I'm Natalie Boydston, and I reside at 61 Garden Terrace. I have many of the same concerns that other residents have voiced in regards to the development of the Westinghouse property, especially focusing on quality of life and potential environmental impacts, including the removal of mature trees and air quality. These concerns also extend to our neighboring communities who could very likely be affected by negative impacts, but who might not see all of the positive impacts that some of the tax income and such will bring. When considering the text amendment, is the language outlined in the amendment and the process of approving a conditional use sufficient to ensure that the community concerns can be addressed? I understand the potential positive impacts to the region and the benefits they could bring. But long-term quality of life and health for residents of Churchill and neighboring communities and the environmental impacts of this development are also very important, but are often harder to visualize and quantify. So thank you.
Thank you, Natalie. Appreciate your comments. Alex?
Rob Pascal, go ahead and please unmute yourself. Thank you.
Thank you for having me. I'm Rob Pascal. I live at 1916 Beulah Road. I've lived here for 4 years, but I did grow up on Beulah Road and recently purchased a property here when I moved back. I'm also a graduate of Woodland Hills High School, 1996. And I do have some concerns being that the facility is going to be adjacent to Beulah Road. My major concern is water drainage. This year wasn't bad for flooding. Obviously, we didn't have quite as much rainfall as the previous 2 years, which were record setting. But I did have multiple issues on Beulah Road with flooding. And I fear that if there's not the proper drainage with all the trees being torn down and also the noise pollution that this could cause, and me being so close to the facility, that raises a major concern for me. Tax revenues obviously sound amazing, but I also live right next to where the proposed property is going to be. So that would be my major concern, would be the water drainage issues that it could cause on the Beulah Road, and it cause even more flooding, as my property did get flooded 4 times over the last 3 years now. So that's it.
Thank you very much for your comments. We hear you. Alex, you want to move forward?
Yes, I don't see anybody who has their hand up, but I did notice when I was, and Kristen and I were going through screens, we noticed someone do like this. And I want to make sure before we move on that we don't miss any. I see another hand up just a minute ago.
Kathy Bordner, I believe, is waving her hand.
I see that. I see there's an 87010. So again, just to give everybody a heads up, there's an ability to name yourself in Zoom.
Yeah.
So you might not learn it tonight, but going into future meetings, it helps us out so much to be able to sort and help us get through this. So 870-180, go ahead and unmute yourself and speak.
I did, thank you. So I'm Ilona Tassone, and I live at 3314 Skatelock Road. And about this proceeding with this. And so I'm a real estate agent and I sell residential real estate. And I have been watching as more and more families choose to move to other communities, mostly because our taxes are so high here, due partly to Churchill and mostly to our school district. And they can buy a house which is much more expensive in another neighborhood, with the taxes are half as much as ours are, and get a really good school district. And so we're losing the lifeblood of our community to other areas. And I also wanted to comment, so since COVID has been in place, on October 7th, the Business Times projected that Pittsburgh may reach a regional occupancy, a commercial occupancy rate of more than 20%. And right now, more than 1.6 million square feet of office space is available for rent. It's the 4th highest in the entire country because people are working from home. And so these businesses are learning that they do not have to have buildings to keep their employees. Downtown space is up to 21.1%, which is the highest ever in our recorded history in Churchill. And so I think that we have nothing to lose to pursue this further. My understanding is if we pass this rezoning, then Hillwood would have to meet the requirements of the borough. And I think that we need to move forward on this in order to keep our community viable, because I don't know anybody who's going to come forth and offering to spend the amount of money that this company is willing to spend in our community to make it better. And I also had a question because I know that a lot of people have questioned the number of vehicles that will be coming in and out of the facility, mostly due to employees. And I'm just wondering, I could not find any information about how many vehicles we had when Westinghouse was in full operation compared to how many we might get for the employees with Amazon. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Alana. We appreciate your comments. I think that Kathy Bordner had her hand up. Is that correct?
That may be. Kathy, if you wish to speak, you may speak.
Okay, thank you. My name is Kathy Bordner, and my husband Dave and I live at 1926 Hampstead Drive. And we've only been here about a year and 2 months. I'm concerned about the traffic. I think that traffic will I'm not only concerned about the congestion and the difficulty that we're going to have that's going to be worse than what we deal with now in trying to get from Churchill to Pittsburgh, but it's also how what Amazon will be doing is going to severely impact homes that are in the immediate vicinity. Someone last week spoke about how you have these rogue drivers who park near these Amazon sites hoping to get packages to deliver, and they park on streets, and it's just a constant presence of all these vehicles. And also we're going to have the employees and the trucks. I just don't see how people living on streets that are adjoining the site are going to be able to salvage their properties. I also watched the spring Zoom meetings regarding visioning. And one of the things that jumped out at me in those meetings was that they said what goes on the site should work with the topography. And I just don't see how a development like this is going to be able to do that. So we got some good advice in that visioning, and it seems like with this going on there, it's going to ignore that. I don't believe that this is the best use of that land. And being new here, I don't know a lot of the history. I know that it's been vacant and that people are frustrated and they want the tax revenue. I understand that. My husband and I, when we lived in Missouri, lived across the street from a decommissioned prison that was decommissioned in '99, and they are just now starting to redevelop that site. So I understand the frustration and the desire for the tax income and what it would do for the schools, but we should try to put the best thing on that site. And I just don't feel like this idea is the best thing. Yes, this company is here offering it to us, but that doesn't mean that that's what should go on that site. And I want to thank Ken for the research that he did, because that was a big question I had about other projects that Hillman has done in the past, and whether they were in a residential area like we have here, and hearing, that they're not, tells me that this is not the right thing to go on that site. If you look at this site from Google Maps, the entire area around it is residential. And it just, in my opinion, is not the best use of this land. And I do hope that if this does not go on the site, I hope that there will be proactive work to get something that is the best thing for that site. Thank you very much.
Thank you for joining us tonight. Alex?
As of this moment, I don't see anyone else who has their hand raised. Please, if this is, this will be your, I guess, last opportunity. So you want to make sure if you haven't hit the screen, you can't speak again twice. So once you've spoken once, your 3 minutes is up, and it's just the rules.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you all for coming tonight and for speaking. As usual, we have residents who are bright and great communicators, and will take into consideration everything that you've said, I assure you. Okay, well, we're going to move on now with our regularly scheduled meeting and our agenda. To begin with, we have accepting the minutes from prior meetings. Do I hear a motion?
I move to accept the minutes from the previous meeting.
Thank you.
Second.
Okay, question? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Motion carries. All right, may we have the treasurer's report?
Yes, thank you, Council. So in the past month in October, we had a beginning balance of a little over 2.3 million. We had revenues, or receipts, I should say, totaling $535,872.36. We had expenditures totaling $929,192.72, and we have an ending balance going into the month of November of slightly over $1.9 million. Those major expenditures last month were attributed to our minimum municipal obligation to our pension funds. We had one for, let me just get back up to my other page here. The one was for $58,578 for the non-uniformed annual pension contribution and $196,165 for the police annual pension contribution as approved in last month's bills.
Great. Thank you, Krista. Anyone have any questions about the treasurer's report? Okay. Let's move on to the bills to be paid. The list has been sent to council members, but Krista, do you have some additional things you'd like to say?
I would only like to point out those major bills that are set to be paid this month. So if you go to the bottom, council members, if you're looking at the last page of that bills to be presented list, our major bills this month include a payment of $167,564.25 to Elkasan for the sewage treatment fees paid to us by the Wilkinsburg Penn Joint Water Authority to be passed on to Elkasan for the sewage treatment in the borough. $37,194.75 to Roto-Rooter, which is a part of our 2020 consent order for the sewage system. We also have $18,192.79 going to Vigliai Landscape and Construction for our public works, $20,581.60 to Gateway Engineers for their work in the past month, and $18,589 to Tucker Ahrensberg for our legal counsel.
Okay. Okay, thank you very much. Okay, here we go. Mr. Mayor, would you like to give us a report?
Yes, Madam President, if I may. As reported to me, I wish to inform council that there were no unusual events or no serious crimes during the month of October 2020. Our officers responded to 697 calls for service. It was 6,577 year-to-date, resulting in 3 arrests. The total amount of magisterial fines collected for the month were $473.44, which gives us a total of $5,202.81 year-to-date. The borough's 4 police vehicles logged 5,331 miles during the month. The new police vehicle is in its final stages of preparation for service. And since I wrote that last, I talked with the chief today. The new vehicle should be in service tomorrow. And for those who are just residents done, it is a hybrid car, which we should see a savings in fuel charges on that particular vehicle. So we're looking forward to that. The chief has also reported to me that there was a significant decrease in the number of families participating in Halloween this year due to the COVID. Fortunately, we had good weather, and moving the time to the afternoon made for a safe trick-or-treating with no incidents reported. Moving to the time of 2 to 4 p.m. was well received by residents. Our police, fire, and EMS presence was greatly appreciated. There were no reported incidents during Election Day. Our officers were on duty to assist if necessary. The chief has also offered a few reminders with the cold weather for the months approaching to help both residents and to protect both residents and their property. Number 1, have your furnace checked by a certified technician and replace the air filter as needed. If utilizing a fireplace, ensure that the chimney is swept and clear of creosote, debris, and animals. Also ensure that the flue pipe is clear and functioning properly. Ensure that all smoke alarms and carbon monoxide detectors have fresh batteries and are functioning properly. If you start your car and allow it to warm up, please be sure it is locked and secure if left unattended. Every year, there's a significant number of vehicles that are stolen and left unattended, unlocked, and running in driveways on the cold days. Details and other related statistics concerning the police department during the month of October 2020 are attached to the police department reports. I have one other note here, if I may. This is a thank you card from Senator Jay Costa to the mayor, council. He's thank all of you for thinking of our family on the passing of his mother. We're blessed to have her for 91 years of a well-lived life. Thanks again for your kindness, Senator Jay Costa.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'll just take a moment and say that I think that we should all be extremely grateful to the wonderful group of volunteers in our community who made sure that our polling places were covered and they operated very smoothly. We had no incidents, and I think we're very, very lucky to have the people that volunteer and help make our elections safe and smooth. So I appreciate that very much. We all do. Okay. Let's see. Any questions about the mayor's report? No? Okay. Well, then we'll move on. We have
Vice President, would you like to just entertain a motion to accept the 3 reports, the treasurer's report, the bills to be paid, and the mayor's report? We could just bundle them together. One motion and then a second.
Certainly. Do I hear a motion?
Madam Vice President, I move that we accept said reports.
Second.
Okay. Any questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Okay, Alex, we have a number of action items here. Would you like to give us a little bit of an explanation about each of them before we take some action on them?
Of course. So there are 2 motions, I'm sorry, 2 resolutions before you. One deals with El Casan related to accepting the GROW grant that we were awarded. That's a formality to be able to proceed to do the project, draw down money, etc. The second was a resolution related to having Keystone Collections Group do the local service tax. That currently is done in-house, And we're convinced that they can do it for less and actually recover more of that local service tax. Following those two resolutions on the agenda, I'm just scrolling down for your convenience.
Aye.
Our motion related to accepting the tax collector's resignation and the deputy tax collector resignation, which would be effective January 31st, 2021. And then lastly, a motion related to adopting the budget. Each of these we can take questions as you so need, or simply a council member may move and second, and of course, call for a vote.
Certainly. Do I hear a motion on number 7 on resolution 4503?
Yeah, Madam Vice President, I move that we approve Resolution 5403 for the Alcosan Grow Grant. It's very important to us.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Just let me say that this is hard fought, hard won, and the largest grant that we've ever gotten in Churchill. So, you know, that's a big deal. All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Okay. All right, next we have consideration of resolution 4504. Keystone Collections.
Madam Vice President, I move that we adopt.
Is there a second?
I second.
Madam
Discussion?
Vice President, if I
Yeah.
may, just to be
Yes.
clear, that item is not related to the item below. The tax collector, Mr. During, was never collecting the local service tax. This is just creating some efficiencies and hopefully recovering some more money for the borough.
Right. Any further question? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Okay, let's see. Oh, this speaks for itself. Number 9, this is about the resignation of our current tax collector. Do I hear a motion?
I move that we accept the resignation of the tax collector.
Second.
Second.
Okay. Any further question or discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries. All right, so here we go. I keep trying to scroll down on my own agenda, Alex. That's why I'm hesitating here for a second. All right, next we come to the lovely issue of our budget for next year. And we need to go through our legal process here to advertise our budget. So I'll consider a motion at this time on advertising the budget.
Madam Vice President, if I may, just to be clear, there have been 2 budgets proposed. One that the Finance Committee worked on and was presented earlier in the month, and then one that was presented between the meetings. And that one does call for a tax increase, the latter one does, and does call for an additional staffing and paving to occur to be reconciled with that tax increase. So the first budget is pretty much a no tax increase budget, and the other one is a tax increase. In order to fulfill the Pennsylvania Borough Code, we really need to advertise between now and December 7th.
Right.
You will adopt, however, on December 14th. And so all you're doing is granting us permission to advance. There's going to be plenty of meetings, I think, with the Finance Committee
Exactly.
between now and December 7th, and probably shortly after Thanksgiving, probably before December 1, another final kind of budget will be presented for you. But the key will be that budget, and the budgets that have been already discussed are online right now for review. And that final budget will be able to be reviewed by the public, and as well, public is welcome to make appointments to come into the building to review the budget as necessary. But I just want to make sure the council is not, you're not voting on one of those budgets tonight. You're voting for us to advertise the budgets.
Thank you for that clarification.
Alice, may I add? Go ahead, David.
I was going to say, just to make clear, the Borough Code does clearly state that you have the opportunity to amend the budget after the 10-day inspection period where the public can review it. You as council can then amend after that period as well, if you wanted to make any changes.
Okay, thank you, David. Madam Vice President, I'd like to add, especially to Adam and to Valerie, who are part of the Finance Committee with me, I'd like to meet early next week to discuss both budgets.
Okay. Well,
Okay.
let's, we have had a second, right? Yeah, okay. All right, any further questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Okay. Now, I'm not seeing the agenda. Oh, there we go. Okay. Let's see. Well, I think that's it. Any staff and other council reports?
Madam Vice President, in relation to the budget, there's also a sewer and water budget that needs to be discussed. And again, on that committee, that would be yourself and Dawn and myself. I'd like to meet by Zoom sometime next week to discuss.
We'll coordinate schedules and get at that.
I may add that Alex and Chris have been busy. We've been talking with the Water Authority and to try to better understand the accounting of the Water Authority. So
yes, always an interesting topic.
Well, to that end, residents may be aware that Alcosan, I think in 2018, passed a budget that would have increases for 5 following years, including this year. And I think at minimum, the Alcosan portion of the bill will increase. But what we're trying to figure out is if we need to have any increases in order to meet our obligations. And that's what the Finance Committee will work on as well. Those budgets are part of the budget narrative that were very well included in the report that was prepared by Krista. Krista did an amazing job. Those can be found online. Matt, I love your comment. We got to improve to make these things just like be beacons at the Nevada Strip. And so we'll work on that. But if anyone has a problem finding those, our contact information is there, and we'll spend whatever time necessary to get those into your hands for review.
Great, thank you, Alex. Does anybody else have any, or do you have any other reports, any committee reports, anybody else? Because then we'll go around the table. Let's start with Norma. Anything you'd like to add?
No, I want to thank all the visitors for their comments, thoughtful, and their research, and for caring about our borough. I think I just appreciate your coming and your thoughts. Thank you.
Okay. Dawn?
Yeah, I think it's, I would have to mirror what Norma said, that I think it's important that we hear from residents with both, different views. And, people were thoughtful and they were passionate. And I think it's important that we hear both sides. And I thank you all for doing that.
Mr. Mayor.
Oh, yes, thank you. First of all, yeah, the number of people that came on tonight, it's overwhelming. It's so good to hear all the different opinions. And just when you think you've heard everything, something new pops up that maybe you didn't think about before. But just to let the residents know, my involvement with council, everybody's working very hard on this decision. This is something that's very, very serious to all our residents. It's a big weight on the council's shoulders to do the right thing for our community. And we all know that the good things that could come out of it, and also and I don't want to say bad things, but some of the negative things that will come out of it as well. It's just not an easy decision, but just to let people know that everyone is trying to cover as many bases as possible.
Thank you.
One other thing too, just to thank the Chalfont Water Run Association last Saturday held a cleanup down at the Churchill Green Space.
Right.
And there was a very large bin, garbage bin that goes on the back of a tractor trailer that was filled. And I think I heard somewhere the number was about 70 volunteers who showed up for that cleanup. So that was a very, very nice activity for the day. I want to thank everyone for doing that.
Love
Thank
our
you.
community.
That was
Love
great.
our community, right. Okay. Adam?
Just to reiterate what everyone else has already said, thank you for so many people coming out this week and last week to discuss your thoughts on this. We're giving it very careful consideration, and the more people we hear from, the better. So this has been great, and thank you all.
Right. And Valerie?
I want to say again, mirroring what everybody said, thank you so much for taking time out of your day, doing so much research and throwing things out that maybe we may not know about, and give a different perspective on things. So I want to appreciate you guys and your commitment to us.
Okay. And David, anything to add this evening?
Just that, we'll continue to support council with regard to the text amendment decision. And also in terms of the question or about the chicken ordinance, we did receive that, and we are looking at that at our offices. So just wanted to give an update on that.
Great, thank you. Yes, I'd like to thank everyone. It is just so gratifying that we have more and more citizens participating in these meetings. And I think we're all feeling that the Zoom format has worked very well, even though it was sort of forced on us. I think we've learned a lot about our ability to use this and to get more people involved. Speaking about the chicken ordinance, I also chair the zoning committee, and the zoning committee is in fact looking at those documents, as is our council. So, we're on the move. So take heart. We'll be acting on this. I also want to give a special thanks to Jamie Glasser, president of the school board, for coming to speak to us this evening. I think her comments were important for all of us to hear. I just want to finish by saying that something the mayor spoke to this. I want our citizens to know that your council is taking this very, very seriously. And I am very grateful to serve with a group of people who are as diligent and as committed to an even-handed assessment of the costs and benefits of taking either decision on this zoning amendment. And we'll do our very best for our community, and we appreciate your participation this evening. Does anyone else have anything else they'd like to add before we adjourn?
I just want to make sure, I don't know if Councilmember Kevin Collins had a chance to say something, but before we end, next Monday at 7 p.m., there'll be a meeting where council will, for at least that meeting, consider voting for or to table or against the discretionary text amendment, the ordinance we've been talking about. The ordinance number 755, a copy of that text is online where people can review the conditional use procedures as well as the definition. And we are available for anyone to, again, walk through this. So just mark that date. If that fails, there will be a public hearing on December 7th at 7 p.m. that would deal with what we call a curative amendment that has been filed by the applicant, Hillwood Development, as well.
Yeah, I would just like to add to that for a minute that if you have any additional questions or comments, concerns that you'd like to share with the council, please send an email, get in touch with any of the council members. We're happy to hear all of your input and very much need it. So on that note, do I hear a motion to adjourn?
I move that we adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you all for coming.
Thank you.